Welcome back to Estate Agency Mastery. I am delighted to be joined by Verona. We met, about a year ago. I've known of you since before that, and we talked a lot about walls, which was very boring, but we're going to move past that. I wanted you on because you're the CEO of Yopa. You've got an incredible track record, and people tend to listen and gravitate towards you. So my question is, if you're an agent in Birmingham, Belfast, or Bognor Regis, what gold can we get from you in your years in the industry?
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, I won't do what Stephanie Vass has advised against, which is thank you for having me. But it is good to be on. I'm particularly impressed today. I know you've just arrived in New York from Dubai, so a very jet-setty podcast today. So look, I've come to estate agency probably from a very different path from most other people. So it's inevitable that I'm probably going to answer this question in a slightly different way to other people. I'm not a dipped and dyed estate agent. I have been in or around estate agency now for about 20 years, but it's a people industry. And I have been a leader in organizations in 3 different industries: retail, financial services, and estate agency over the last, well, more years than I care to remember, 30 odd years. So my response to that is going to come from a place of leadership, as opposed to being as I say, a dipped and dyed estate agent. So for me, regardless of what size your estate agency is, whether you are a self-employed in a brokerage model, whether you're in a branch, whether you're in a small independent, or whether you run a national estate agent, for me, the starting point is very, very clear. You should always have a very clear strategy. So what is it that you want to be? Why does your organization exist? And there's 3 really simple steps to try and, I guess, unpack that. So the first thing is, what is my aspiration? What's my winning aspiration? Why do we exist? Where are we going? And what do we want to achieve? I suppose, what is our purpose? And those include things like, depending on, do you want to have a big market share? Do you want to build revenue? Is it about earnings for your family? Do you want to be the best in the area? Do you want to provide the best marketing in the area, the best service in the area? What is it that you want to achieve in your agency? So if you start there, then that gives you an idea of how you're going to achieve that. So in essence, stage 1 is, what do I want to be famous for? Now, famous could be on one postcode. It could be in DN10. It could be in what I want to be famous for in Wales, or what I want to be famous for nationally. But that's a very good starting point for any business or any estate agent.
What would you say?
And then you
Oh, so what would you say? So listen to this. I love this. We push this out in our business plan, and actually, I was overseeing Josh Vegan in Australia a couple of weeks ago, and he tore into me. I was going to use another term there, and he was basically like, "What's your exit? Why did you set up the business you have done?" And he was like, "Do you teach? Do you start with why? Do you look at this?" And I was like, "Oh, we teach this. I've got it all in a module." He's like, "But you don't have that for your own business?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's a real kick in the teeth." So it's hard to get to. So what would you say to agents to go, that sounds good, but I'm too busy getting my 30 instructions a month. I know if I do 30 instructions a month in my town, I'm good.
I'm sad to say that I see far too much of that. I see far too much of estate agents living month to month, next invoice, and not really thinking about the longer term plan of their business. Because how can you then make decisions about what direction your business goes in? If you don't know where you're going, you're all over the place. There's a little video, and if you YouTube it, it's called Flying in Formation, or it's the geese theory. And I very firmly believe in the geese theory, which is, unless you're flying in formation towards the same goal, everything falls apart. And you can be very clear about where you want to be and what your goal is, whether that's your exit strategy or whether that's your next car or your next holiday. But unless everybody in your organization, however big or small it is clear about what direction you're going in, then you will just not be successful. Now, strategy does not guarantee success. It never will, but it absolutely increases the chances of it. So it's making sure that everybody is clear about where you're going, whether you are, 3 people in a branch, 10 people in a branch, or 500 people in an organization. It's very important that everybody knows where you're headed.
Do you know, one of my favorite quotes is "Tactics without strategy is the war cry before defeat," and it's taken from a book,
Yeah,
The Art of War. Right, a lot of business leaders know it. I've
absolutely.
seen it in courses.
Yeah.
It's in our course, and I'm a typical agent, so I fall into the trap of most agents. Is why I love what I do. So this is great. I'm going to make sure those questions go in the show notes, and the geese theory is going to go in that quote as well. So
Right,
thank.
I can send you anything that those just for ease. And then once you're clear about where it is you want to go, why do you exist, and what do you want to be famous for, then you have to think about, so where am I going to play? And this is not, I didn't design this, by the way. It's a basic strategy cascade. So where do I want to play? And that includes things like the geographies that I want to play in, which postcodes do I want to be in, what locations, what communities do I want to operate within. But it also includes things like which customer segments do I want to attract, what demographic of customers, what price brackets do I want to play in. And if you live in Lincoln, for example, then you're going to have to play in an area or a price bracket or community that works within where you live. So if you want to only work in the prime market, then probably Lincoln is going to limit your exposure. So therefore, you have to decide, well, I want to list X number of properties per year. So therefore, how I want to do that is I want to have outstanding marketing, what I want to be famous for in that sector. So where you want to play will then determine how you're going to approach that market. But other areas of where you want to play will include things like, what products am I going to offer? Do I want to be an estate agent? Do I want to do lettings? Do I want to do mortgages? Do I want to offer conveyancing, moving services? What are my fee structures? How wedded to my fee structure am I? But these are the things that you need to be very clear on, because otherwise you're going to go like that. And every time you determine what you want to be famous for, every decision that you make will either reinforce that or distract from that. So you have to make sure that every decision you make about where you want to play aligns to what you want to be famous for and what your aspiration is.
And I think there's a huge tag on here. Sorry to jump in. I think there's a bit of
Right.
there's a bit of a delay. And the tag on for me is, once you go through this process, you then have to stick to it, because estate agents, again, I'm a typical agent, right? Fall into new shiny object theory more often than not, right? So even if they then go and create plans, how often do they stick to them? And again, I veer away the whole time, and my team are like, I'm like a balloon going off, and they're trying to pull me back down, going, no, you said true north is this way. So I think it's huge, right? Where do I want to play? But you can't just write this down and then put it in your bottom drawer and forget it, right? It's something you've got to refer back to
Absolutely.
literally, arguably daily, right?
Well, the thing is, and I've actually written this down to talk about as well, once you've clarified your strategy, which is why it is so important, to discuss it, to agree it as a team so everybody's flying information, then you document it in a simplistic a way that people can digest at every level in the organization. So everybody can remember it, digest it, and can use that as a guiding principle to make decisions on a daily basis. And what that means is, more often than not, it's going to mean saying no than it is to saying yes. Because once you're absolutely clear about where you're going, opportunities will come, and the better you get at refining that strategy and being very clear about where you're going and saying no, you will attract more people who want to work with you and who want to do business with you. And therefore it becomes harder and harder to say no. And it's easy to get distracted like a magpie, to go down an alleyway. And we've all done it. I've done it. We've all done it. But it's so much harder to say no than it is to say yes. But it is so important to say no. And I don't just mean to say no to a tricky vendor that you think is going to be difficult. I don't just say no to somebody who wants to negotiate on price. I'm talking about saying no to things, opportunities that may come to you, that people are going to sell you, that is the next best thing. It's so important that you've got the confidence in your strategy and the confidence in where you want to play. And importantly, which is the third point, is how you're going to win in order to actually win. So let me talk about that. So the third point of that. So number one is a winning aspiration. Number two is where am I going to play? And the third is how am I going to win? And you can't get to how we're going to win until you've determined what you want to achieve, what you want to be famous for, and where you're going to play. So that will include things like, what is my competitive advantage? What makes me different? What makes me stand out? And why would any vendor invite me into the living room versus the other 27 or 57 options that they have around them. So you have to be clear about what that is. And then you have to articulate that consistently. You have to demonstrate that. You have to be that all the time. And only then, when you do that consistently, will you stand out and will you become known for what that is, and whether that's brilliant marketing, video photography, whether that's an accessible person that's within your community, somebody that they see on social media and they think that they can connect with you even when you walk in the lounge, they feel like they already know you because you're a member of the community and you support your community. What's your unique customer benefit? What are you going to bring to the table for that customer that is different from the next person? We know what agents are like. They come in and instead of talking about what makes me different and makes me stand out, they slag off the competition. That's the worst trait ever. So focus in your lane, focus on what you're good at, focus on what makes you stand out. And if it is, I'll get you the best price. Have evidence. Where's your data? Where's your evidence to prove that that's the case? I'll sell faster. You know, as agents, we say our unique customer benefits. I'm going to get the best price. I'm going to sell faster than anybody else, and I'm the local expert. Well, the 3 agents that came in before you told me exactly the same thing. So what are you going to do that demonstrates that that is actually facts? And what can you show me that's going to give me the confidence in that? And data is super, super important. So if you wrap all of those things all in together, put them on a page, document, and I don't mean put it on a page, stick it on a wall and walk away or put it in your drawer. I mean, communicate it with your people, make sure you're absolutely certain that everybody understands it and everybody buys into it, and then utilize that on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis to make your decisions about where you're heading and what you do next, because that's critical. And as I said, the learning to say no is as important than learning to say and saying yes and being open to opportunities.
There's so many things that you've touched on that I see in the self-employed world. You know, saying no when it's, oh well, Chris works for himself, so we'll ask him to do the school run or pick up mum from that appointment or whatever, and people go, oh, they work for themselves, and it's like, well, what would you do if I was in a 9 to 5 job? You're actually taking away from my dream. But I think having a plan and just being held accountable to it is huge, right? So I think you're 42% likely to hit that business plan or goal if it's written down, 80% if you've got an accountability partner, or your case, a board or whoever, someone that's like, listen, where are we to go, or what we're tracking at? So it's not. I mean, we get so much great prop tech, and I love AI prop tech. Reach out to me at the moment, like, Chris, we've got to meet with you.
Yeah,
I'm like, no, I don't. Every bone in my body wants to, but I'm like, True North's that way, so I can't. You're not on my plan.
And it is tricky, right? Because whenever you're the sort of person that embraces disruption or new technologies or new opportunities, and I put myself in that box as well, right? I want to be involved in and have my finger in what's happening. But whenever we do, it's, by the way, it isn't always important to be the first mover advantage. That is in lots of cases actually sending you down a rabbit hole that you don't want to go. You waste money, you waste resources, you waste time. So I think it's important to have evidence and have proof points that things are going in the right direction before we go there. But it is important sometimes that you assign a small proportion of your resource to emerging technologies, to emerging ideas. And it's really important that you don't distract all of your team. You know, whenever we've got projects going on, I will have a very small sub team who will look at that project and nobody else knows about it until they absolutely need to, because they're all focused on their job. And so, you know, putting things, documenting it, assigning time. And I'm a big fan of time boxing in my diary. I schedule and plan and prepare for absolutely everything. And even, you know, for this call, I knew it was going to happen a couple of weeks ago. So I spent some time last week preparing for it. And I spent allocated a bit of time yesterday prepare for it. Because then when I know I'm about to have the conversation, I know what I want to talk about. And I think too many people, particularly in our world, will rock up on the moment because we're always in a rush and we don't think ahead. So it's really important that you schedule stuff in your diary to prepare as it is to attend evaluation or to do the prep work for the evaluation. So when you show up, it's nailed. You know, when you show up, you're confident and you know you've got the best opportunity to secure it.
2 final things from me. The first one, I'm going in reverse order, is I do this podcast so I can pick the best bits from people's minds, nick them, and write them all into a playbook and regurgitate it right. It's and to help the estate agencies community by actually listening to you say all this, I'm like, there are so many holes in my game, and people go, oh, well, your business is new, you're a startup, it's all right in chaos. There's some notes I need to make directly after this call, which I'm going to do. So thank you. And then the second one that I just want to throw in, that's for the agents listening, is one of the things we really practice is that elevator pitch. So if someone goes, what do? You don't go, I'm an estate agent, double thumbs up. It's bang, bang, bang. I call it a drop kick to the jaw. Does that sound like an agent you'd like to have in your corner or to represent you? So it's 2 or 3 lines that are so good. So even on the valuation, if the husband walks in late and goes, oh, well, why would you use you over AJB Estates? And you're like, bang, bang, bang. Does that sound like an agent you want in your corner? Oh, okay, that's really different. That's a motive. So you've done all the data stuff that you mentioned, but you've hit me as well.
Yeah.
And it works so well. It works.
Absolutely. And I would caution on that. I mentioned the unique customer benefit. When you're thinking about your elevator pitch or your drop kick, whatever you refer to it as, think about it from their perspective, right? You're not thinking about it as how am I comparing myself or, to my competitors. What is the benefit to you? To 100%. The customer, what is the benefit to you? What's the unique customer benefit that you're going to bring that if they don't go with you, they're going to miss out? Well, and everybody, that fear of losing, that fear of missing out is powerful.
Yeah, one of our guys is ex-military, and his response is, because I'm going to go to war for you to get the best price for you and your family that the market will allow. Does that sound like an agent you want in the trenches with you?
So how are you going to do that? Show me how you've done that for other customers.
Well, I've just showed you all my data. Look at that. I'm the fastest there.
And if you can back it up, right, and there it is. It has to have evidence. You have to be able to demonstrate you've done that. If it's just words that are empty, people see through that. So you have to be able to back it up with evidence.
100%. Thank you so much. We've done this in the right amount of time. We've got the right amount of gold out. Verona, I'm no doubt I'll see you soon at a charity event or somewhere along the line. I appreciate you. I'll catch you soon.
Very welcome. Safe travels. Bye.
Cheers.